Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Welcome back to 1+1. This is our part 2 of our conversation. And let me just hold up. Let me just close that. Okay. All right. So everyone, our internet connection got cut off, but we're back. But yeah, we're just going to do part 2. So Miss Webb. Okay. So 2 very quick questions before you have to conclude, because I know that you have to go. Talk about Alan Dershowitz, because in your investigation you actually didn't go too deep into Dershowitz, but Dershowitz is a very well-known hotshot lawyer who defended Klaus von Bülow in his appeal case. Very well-known, like ultra, Zionist Israel defender.
Oh yeah, ultra Zionist is fair. Yeah.
Who has taken down the likes of Norman Finkelstein and other people who speak out against Israel, even when they're Jewish. He does that smear campaign, and he was also Talk about Alan Dershowitz, because he has connections to the Clintons, to Trump, and he actually defended Epstein, which many people think that's why Epstein got a sweetheart deal, because
Well, Alan Dershowitz, right, is a guy that has been in the swamp for a long time. Actually, when Roy Cohn was going to be disbarred, his character witnesses included people like Donald Trump, but also Alan Dershowitz, who apparently thought Roy Cohn was such a great guy that why not, appear and say under oath about what a great guy he is, when everyone that was around Roy Cohn, not unlike Jeffrey Epstein, actually knew what was going on. And talking about, how people knew all along with Epstein, a lot of people have pointed that quote about Donald Trump made, a couple decades ago, saying he likes women on the younger side and stuff like that. He really enjoys his social life, right? Well, Roger Stone, who was also a protege of Roy Cohn, not unlike Donald Trump, made similar comments about Roy Cohn, saying he was always surrounded by these young blonde boys and no one said anything. That's Roger Stone. You can look up that quote about Roy Cohn, right? So people knew what was going on. And even with Epstein, right? I mean, Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, said, we all knew what Epstein was doing in a recent speech, right? So it wasn't just Donald Trump that knew what was going on, okay? So I would argue Roy Cohn is similar, if you're going to take quotes like Roger Stone like that, and Roy Cohn's extensive involvement in the stuff for decades. So anyway, Alan Dershowitz was like, I'm going to defend that guy, or as a character witness, not even as a hired lawyer, right? So they were chummy, for one thing. Anyway, Alan Dershowitz, it's not exactly clear when he got involved with Epstein, but it definitely goes back to at least 1995. Alan Dershowitz himself claims that he was introduced to Epstein by Lynn Forrester, now Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. Lynn Forrester used to be married to a in-law of the Louis Rosenstiel family, whose name is Andrew Stein. They divorced in the early 90s, and Lynn Forrester got help, unspecified help, regarding her divorce from Jeffrey Epstein, and was apparently one of the people that helped ingratiate Epstein into the Clinton White House. In 1995, Lynn Forrester wrote a letter that's documented. It's from the Clinton Presidential Library, saying that I used my 15 seconds of access, since you're such a busy man, Mr. President, to talk to you about 2 things: Jeffrey Epstein and currency stabilization. This is in 1995, the same year when Maria Farmer saw and heard Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein preparing to receive President Clinton in New York in 1995. And this is also apparently, Maria Farmer also witnessed Dershowitz coming and going from witnesses from Epstein's premises. So he was involved in that period of time, and we know that Lynn Forrester was as well. So it appears to have begun in this period of time. Several victims, including Virginia Roberts, among others, have alleged that Dershowitz was involved with exploiting the victims. He claims that he got massages, the code word for underage sex, in Epstein's operation, but claims that he kept his underwear on, and that was only an old old grandma type lady that gave him a massage, which is totally absurd because there were no old people around Epstein that gave massages. It was all young, mostly underage girls. So Dershowitz is, in my opinion, just a total liar. He also, around the same period of time, wrote this really controversial column in a newspaper saying that once a girl gets her period, should be the age of.
Hold on one second.
So what does that tell you?
Wait. Hold on one second. There was a cuts in the call, so I'm just going to repeat what you were saying. In case people didn't hear that. Ms. Webb was just explaining that Alan Dershowitz wrote a very controversial column where he was talking about when a woman gets her period, and continue with what you were explaining.
Yeah. So he was saying like when a woman or a girl really starts puberty and gets her first period, that should count as like the age of consent. And you can get your period these days. You know, some girls get it as young as like 9 or 10 years old. I mean, it's disgusting, frankly. So anyway, he defends that piece even today and claims that, he's very aggressive in going after victims of Epstein, trying to intimidate them. Like I said earlier, he hired Louis Freeh, the former FBI director, to go and harass Epstein victims. He threatens numerous Epstein victims that try and speak to the public or to journalists, including myself, with legal action. One Epstein victim that I had been in contact with says that she's been threatened by Dershowitz so much that she can't really talk to me. She's too scared of this guy. Very disconcerting. So he's definitely a big part of
Hold on one second. We seem to be having internet connection problems again. Can you hear me, Whitney? Whitney, can you hear me? Oh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're having internet problems again. I'm going to try to get in touch with Whitney again and see what we can do. Otherwise, we're going to try to do this interview another time.